Okay, we're holding here Chavzayim on base, on top. Tanya, Rav Moshe Binyomin, Hamispal Achuri Rabbi, Vanoisin Shalom the Rabbi. These are considered disrespectful. If a person gives Shalom to the Rav without saying the proper title and respect, he doesn't say Shalom Alecha Rebbe. A Machzer Shalom the Rav, same thing, or he answers Shalom. V'acholik al yeshivasa, and he's cholik on his position. Sharabah, v'oimer, even if he says davar shelo shama mipi rabbi, going to the shechina shetistalik miYisrael, this removes the shechina. So the more asks the kasha, how could it be that Rabbi Yirmiyah did this? That he davened behind Rav. Rav. One answer is Tam Chaver. He was a contemporary. He was a Talmud Chaver. He was somewhat of an equal, even though he learned from him. He was on the same level of Torah. I need to come with Rabbi Yirmiyah or Abba, and we'll prove that. Because Rabbi Yirmiyah Abba said to Rav, "Mi badalta." Did you refer? Now this goes back to the sukkah we're discussing. He was Makabel Shabbos early, right? He davened Kabbalah Shabbos early, and he asked them, "Okay, you're davening Mariv already, but to what extent does that mean also mi badalta? Are you also refraining from doing melacha?" Amalei, he answered him, "In bedilna, yes, I'm also do not do melacha because I'm Makabel Shabbos. I don't do melacha." Now here we're picking up on the way he dressed him. He didn't, as opposed to dressing him in third person properly. Does mar not do malacha? He dressed him in second person. Mi badil. Do you? Mi badalta. It's directly in third person. Okay, now the Gemara is going to question the actual halachic assumption that you do not do malacha. Mi badil. About Rabbi Abin Pam Achas Ispal Rebbe Shabbos Bev Shabbos. One time, Rebbe also was mispabel Shabbos Bev Shabbos. V'nichnas l'berchatz v'yotza Shalom Pirkin. And what happened was he was Makabel Shabbos, done Marv early, and then he Shalom Pirkin. He gave his shiur v'dayin lo choshkin, still not tzeis gechovim. But the point he was nichas l'merchatz. He was bespalo Mariv of Shabbos of Shabbos, and then he went to the bathhouse. And then he went to give shiur, but it was still early enough. It wasn't really Shabbos. It wasn't really, but he was Makabel Shabbos already. So you see that he wasn't concerned about not doing malacha, even though he davened Marv already. So he says what he did over there in the merchatz, he didn't actually go into the real, do a full rechitza, which is forbidden on Shabbos, but he just went in to what's called bimazia. Mazia is also some type of form of merchatz. It's sweating in order to also for the heat of the merchatz without using the water, and that is permissible even on Shabbos. Kodim Gzeira was nichos lazir of Kodim Gzeira. At one point it was permissible. Okay, we're in the top of Chazayim Beis. We said, affecting more again. Is it true? Again, so we want to maintain that. We want to argue the point that perhaps one who Makabel Shabbos early and davens Mariv of Shabbos already, when it's before nightfall of Shabbos, is not necessarily obligated in Shabbos. Is that true? For Abayi Shara later of Dimi, but Liloi, the Chvure Sali, didn't Abayi permit to what's called the chavurei savi. It means to smoke, to smoke baskets, to give them a certain smell, a good smell, on Shabbos, which is also on Shabbos. And that was after he was in Kabbalah Shabbos. So how can he do that? So the Gemara answers, Hahu to Usahave. No, that what you did that wasn't a regular case of even Kabbalah Shabbos. That was a Kabbalah Shabbos based on a misunderstanding. To Usa, and therefore he was, in other words, he's Kabbalah Shabbos B'Tayis. We'll see this in a minute. Let's say he didn't realize what time it was. He thought, it looked dark outside. It was very cloudy, and it looked dark outside. And the Kabbalah Shabbos was a misunderstanding. So therefore, we said, okay, it's not really Shabbos. You can go out, go back, and you can go to Malachas or whatever it's Malachas Rabbanan and L'chayra, but it's not really Shabbos. And expecting Gemara then, so what? Okay, the Kabbalah Shabbos on a misunderstanding. But you want the Kabbalah Shabbos, to Usami Hadra, you can't. Can you retract a misunderstanding on that? And I mean Kabbalah Shabbos. Well, I'll bring a raya that you can't. For Omar Avidin to Pamachas Iskashu Shemayim Ba'ovid was very cloudy, and Kesurim Ha'am obviously it was late. It was close to the Zman, and it was dark a little bit, and it was very cloudy, and it looked dark outside. It was like it's nightfall. And what happened? Now here it's the opposite. Here we're going on Shabbos itself. The Spalus from Motzei Shabbos, and actually Dav Marav on Motzei Shabbos. And then what happened was Mispazua Ovim, then all of a sudden the wind blows and the clouds clear away a little bit, and the sun is still shining. And both Sholus and Rebbe, their question was more, okay, Dav Marav, I thought it was night. We see it's not. Do we have to go ahead and repeat Mariv? And he answered him, no. You were Makabel. You designated it as day, as night. And again, remember, Rabbi Yehuda holds Plagach Mincha is night. So if you used Rabbi Yehuda's Shita Plagach Mincha, even though it was a misunderstanding, and once you did that, it's binding. So that's what the Gemara is asking, saying over here also. So if Rabbi Abin, if Rebbe was actually the Kabbalah Shabbos B'Tayis, but still, how would it be if he was actually in the Kabbalah and the Tefillah is considered a Tefillah? Like this is how Rashi explains it here. Tefillah was a Tefillah, so that in effect, we have a rule is in Kabbalah Shabbos, when you mispalel Shabbos, that Tefillah is considered in effect Kabbalah Shabbos. There are other ways to Kabbalah Shabbos. We say you can Kabbalah Shabbos if you want beforehand, but Tefillah is by definition we're designating that it's the Shabbos. So if the Tefillah is a Tefillah, he was with Kabbalah Shabbos, and we're proving even a Tefillah based on a misunderstanding on a Toyas, the Shabbos. So how can he go and do Malacha? It must be that you can be Kabbalah Shabbos and not do Malacha. That's the question. And then one answer is no. It's not a raya. The story of Tefillah is in fact not a raya because Shani Tzibur lo matzuchidin. The reason why we assume it we halachically consider it to be nightfall, that you don't have to repeat your Shemona Esrei, even though we don't really go with the halacha of Rabbi Yehuda, is because once the tzibur did it, if the tzibur did it, so l'matzuchidin lahu, and the halacha takes that into consideration, and we will view it as night because of the tzibur. But as an individual did it, not necessarily. So therefore, we could therefore rationalize the reason why Rabbi was allowed to do malach over there was simply because it was a mistake, misunderstanding, and that was the story. We went into the Mirchas or Lechuri Saleh, and that was the story over there. Something more vital by the two dots. Omar Abchia Bar Abed Rav Tzadei Shel Shabbos Bar Shabbos. Again, another testimony to this halacha that in fact Rav davened Shabbos Erev Shabbos, like Rabbi Yehuda Shita Plagach Mincha. Rabbi Yeshia Matzah Shamotzi Shabbos b'Shabbos. And even to the other extent, Rabbi Yeshia davened Marev on Shabbos for Motzei Shabbos, even though it was only after Plag HaMincha. And the Gemara says, Rav explains another detail. Rav told Shabbos Erev Shabbos. Now, so far, Rav davens early. Now, what that was Marev. He davened Marev. He finished. It's still not yet. What's the halacha? Omer kedusha l'kois and kedusha l'kois. What about kiddush? Do you say kiddush or not? Can you make kiddush early? You say no. So kiddush is only when it'll be actually Vali Shabbos. Tashman. I'm not going to Shmuel. Mispalo Adam shel Shabbos Erev Shabbos v'omer kedusha l'kois. In fact, you can daven early, and you can also say kiddush l'kois v'hilchus hakavos. That's the halacha that we can make kiddush early also. Now again, this is the other way. Rabbi Yeshia daven Marav on Shabbos early. Now here we have another question. What about Havdalah? Theoretically it should be the same thing, right? Omer Havdalah l'kois and Havdalah l'kois. Tashman Yehuda Mishmol Mispal Adam Shabbos Shabbos b'Shabbos for Omer Havdalah l'kois. So yes, and you can also say Havdalah l'kois. Now, by the way, this doesn't prove that you can do Melacha Chas v'Shalom. It's still Shabbos. But we're just proving that since, to some extent, according to Yehuda, according to someone, it is considered to be the next day. So the Chazal do consider it to be a Marev or Havdalah that is effective, and you don't have to repeat that. Amr Rab Zeh Rav Asi, Amr Rab Elazar, Amr Rab Chanina, Amr Rav. B'tzad Amr Zeh, right next to this pillar, he spalled Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yosi. Not only was it Rav, it goes back to Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yosi, Daven Shal Shabbos B'Erev Shabbos. Ki also Ula Amar B'Tzad tomorrow have it. No, it was next to this date tree, to this palm tree. V'lo B'Tzad Amud have it, not next to the pillar. V'lo Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yosi. Also, you have the names wrong. You're saying the story wrong. El Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Yosi. Shabbos, and it wasn't also Shabbos. Okay, so that's the halacha. In fact, is brought in Shulchan Aruch that it is permissible to, even if you don't normally it's the truth. We paskin like the Gemara says in Plag, like we Rabbanan, that lo yimehilchus lo kemar v'lo kemar, and therefore it depends what a person does. It's possible to do Plag to be daven Marv after Plag HaMincha, technically, or not. So, but as long as you're not contradicting yourself and davening, Mincha after Plag and Marv after Plag, then you're okay. But yet, nevertheless, on Shabbos, on Friday night, the Shulchan Aruch says, because of Tosefes Shabbos, it is correct to daven Shabbos early, Mikabel Shabbos early. Tfilas. Again, it still should say mincha before Plag HaMincha in order to be able to be kaveya after Plag is nighttime. So we say Mariv does not have a set time. Now it's an interesting expression. Why say ein lakeva? Just say so. Mariv is all night. My ein lakeva. Just say the fact. It's all night. What is this point? My ein lakeva. So this is alluding to something else. Command to Omer Tfilas Arvis Shus. So there's a machlekes. Is Marv what we call now? We have to understand what this means, but it's what we call optional or obligatory. Domer Rav Yehuda Mishmua Tfilas Arvis. Omer Choyvitz machlekes Tanaim, and you'll be sure Omer Rishus. So we're gonna discuss this in a minute. It's machlekes, a big machlekes in the Sanhedrin here. We'll see the story in a minute. Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says it's optional. And Amar Shmuel, Amar Abaya, Halacha Kedivri Omer Choyva, v'Rav Amar Halacha Kedivri Rishus. Rabbi says no, the halacha in fact is it's Rishus, but we say, Rishonim point this out, that even though it's Rishus, if you look at Tosfos, there's a story in the right of it. Lav dafka reshus. Not exactly. It's not really optional. That's not exactly correct translation. It's not capricious le'el. It's still an obligation that we've accepted upon ourselves obligation, but it's not quite as obligating as shachris and mincha. L'kach dikr reshus levatla over mitzvah cheres or averes. In other words, it could be it's a reshus is only relative to other things, and it could be something else might come up that's more obligatory, another mitzvah, and it would push off Mara, but it's not. But essentially, it is something we accept as an obligation. Okay, Tana Rabbanan. We're going to now hear a story about that revolves around this discussion of Rishus. It's a big story about what happened here in the Sanhedrin. Ma'aseh b'Talmud Echad. Shabbat in Yeshua, there was a Talmud. In other words, it's one of the. It's for the context of the story. We'll see. Might have very possibly been a member of the Sanhedrin as well. It was considered a Talmud. It was one of the Talmidim. It wasn't one of the leaders at that point. And there's a Talmud, and he asked the Shaila to be Yeshua, and he had Amud HaYomi Rishus Chayva. That was the question. Is Arvis Rishus Chayva? Again, what's the difference? Again, like what you said, maybe when it comes into conflict with other mitzvahs. Amalei, and he answered, Rishua answers Rishus. And Balif Neira Gamliel. And then he wanted to find out what's the truth here. So then he went to the Nasi, to the Abbezdin, Rabbi Gamliel. And he's going to make a lot of trouble here, this guy. He's going to make trouble. We'll see who he is. In the end, he's a very important person, but Balif Neira Gamliel. And he asked him a question, Rebbe, what's the halacha? I'm like, what do you mean? It's a choiv. You have to say not marif. What are you saying? So he says to him, well, I'm Rabbi Yeshua. I asked the Shaila, and everybody knows, and obviously Rabbi Yeshua had tremendous status here in the Sanhedrin. He was from the Chashuvim, maybe the greatest, and he said, Rishus. So he says, okay, I don't agree with that. Amalei hamtin achi yichnesu the Bali Trisin, this Medrash. Let the Bali Trisin. Actually says the Bali Trisin, the Chachamim, that are menatseach ba'alocha. Maybe they're protected. They have a tris. They have a protection on them. They battle. Let the great Talmidei Chachamim come in the Beis Medrash, and we'll discuss this, and we'll come to a conclusion. We'll see who's right. He was very confident in this halacha, and so fine. When the Chachamim came to Beis Medrash, Amar v'shoyel tefillas arvus shus. No, so he said, ask your question. And he got up and asked. And Rav Gamliel said, okay, I'm not answering. So really got up and I'm going to answer the question. Rav Gamliel, what does he say? Choiva. Now he continues and he says, Rabbi Yisai, does anyone disagree? Can anyone possibly disagree with that? Now remember, Rabbi Yehuda was the Nasi also. He was in charge. So it's very hard to disagree with him. So he asks, does anyone disagree? So, Amalei Yeshua, no. And I guess apparently from the context, he must have said this looking at Rabbi Yeshua probably. Amalei, does anyone disagree? He knows, we'll see the story in a minute. He and Rabbi Yeshua had many different disagreements in halacha. And he asked Rabbi Yeshua, does anyone disagree? Amalei, lav. So interesting that Rabbi Yeshua decides, I'm going to deny this because it's not worth this. So he asked him, but I heard quoted in your name, Amruli Rishus. So what do you say to that? Amalei Yeshua, and then he gives him an order. And his order, you have to understand, he's the Abbez, and he's the Nasi. So he's like the Rosh Yeshiva and the Nasi, and his order is binding. He has to accept it. You need to stand. And let them come give testimony that this is what you say. You're denying it. Are you denying it or not? What's going on? So the story goes on, Omer Rabbi Yeshua Raglav, and he says as follows: if I was alive, and he wasn't alive, so I wouldn't be able. You wouldn't be able to catch me. But I have to admit, it's basically, I don't know why he had to go into such a whole explanation to make this point, but he's saying, okay, you got me. It's what I said. And if you're going to bring him to testify, he's going to tell the truth. You're going to see, you're right. I must admit, in my opinion, Marav is Rishus. Gamliel Yeshiv, now, so Gamliel was very upset with this. He felt that he should be, I think Rabbi Gamliel, I'm not sure what the pshat is, but perhaps, he felt it's wrong for Rabbi Yeshua to give this opinion when there's clearly Roiv of the Sanhedrin sides of the Gamliel. Nobody else argued. So why are you saying this? You're Das Yochid, Gamliel, Yoshev V'Dairish. So he ignored him. He went on and give his drasha. For Yeshua Oymin Araglov, and he's standing. And again, must have been quite a long drasha he's standing there for. They said, stop the drasha. The way it worked was that Yeshua would speak, and the Targumon, the person who translated it, or he said it loud so everybody can hear, he would make the drasha. So they told him, stop the drasha, and he stopped. And they said to him, listen, at Kamen Etzari V'Nezel, is this too much? It was the rest of the Talmid Chachamim are not protesting for Rabbi Yeshua. He said Rabbi Yeshua he's been trying to argue out his opinion on different things, and he's constantly getting it over the head for Rabbi Gamliel. On Rosh Hashanah, last year, Rosh Hashanah, Tzare. There was a big, if you remember the Mishnayos in Rosh Hashanah, in the Mishnayos in Rosh Hashanah, there was a big dismachlekes between Rabbi Yeshua and Gamliel as to what day is Rosh Hashanah, and then after Mina, which day is Yom Kippur, when we start Yom Kippur, and Gamliel had to force Rabbi Yeshua to come on what he thought was Yom Kippur, and come and do Malacha. So that was a very painful thing for Rabbi Yeshua. And B'Chayres, B'Maisa, in the B'Chayres also, in Halachos B'Chayres, in the Maisa B'Tzadik, also there was the big Machlekes Tzarei. He also had to suffer over there, Rabbi Yeshua. There's some Machlekes in Hilchos B'Chayres. Hachanami Tzarei, here also now comes to Rishus, and this is inappropriate. This is like abuse. We consider this inappropriate. And Teva Navre, let us remove him from his post. Okay, so that they accepted that argument. Now there's a rule though. To remove somebody, we have to have an alternative. We can't just Gamliel is doing the job. So who's going to do this job? So Man Nukel in the Rabbi Yeshua Bal Maisa, we don't want to put Rabbi Yeshua. This would be also inappropriate to take out Rabbi Gamliel and put Rabbi Yeshua. That's not the way to do it. Because he's the Bal Maisa, so it's going to create a very bad feeling, Machlekes. So Nukla Rabbi Akiva, okay, let's bring in who's the next big gun, is Rabbi Akiva. So the problem is Rabbi Akiva is as great as he is, because the problem is, let's do Schus Avos. Rabbi Akiva doesn't have Schus Avos. Rabbi Akiva did not come, he came from Gerim originally, I think, or whatever it was, he didn't have schus avos, and for this job you have to also have schus avos. You can't do it. It's dangerous. We'll see. Rashi says he could be punished by Gamliel, but the schus avos will protect him. And look, so now we're going to the Chacham. Rabbi Azariah is a moedik Chacham. He's also Asher. He's also wealthy. Vasiri Ezra. He's also a descendant of Ezra, 10th generation descendant. And who Chacham? The Yimakshel B'Farkli knows how to answer. He's a Chacham. The Yimakshel B'Farkli, who Asher, he's wealthy. Why do we care how much money he has? Because when you're the Nasi, you have responsibility for the tzibur. Yisli lefluchi the bekeser afu also polach. He has the connections to go to Rome and to deal with issues, political issues. For Asir Lazar, he's also a 10th generation of Ezra, Islay Schus Ovis, V'Machal Islay. Oh, so this okay. So also Amalei, and they went and told him. He said, "Amalei, Nichalei Lamar, is it you accept upon yourself to have your Reish Mesifta?" Now it's interesting. Here it says Reish Mesifta. I guess we'll see it anymore. Also, we're talking about also the yeshiva. Again, it seems like there was also like the Bezdin, the Nasi of the Sanhedrin. But are you accepting this position? Amalei Ezel ve'imlich bin Shibesi. I'm going to go ask my wife what she says. Ozel ve'imlich b'divisayu. Now he went to go discuss his wife. Okay, tomorrow we'll pick it up. We'll